Pearl, I need to have a word with you.
Oh no! Don't be too hard on her now. Why does it have to be this way?
Pearl, you're fired.
What's going on, y'all? Grind to Motivate back in this thing again, man, with another video. And today we're doing a closer look into Pearly things, man. And I've been hearing a lot of lame dudes talking about, yeah, she's the woman king of the manosphere. That's lame as hell. Super damn lame. And then you got black dudes, you know, all these alternative red pill black dudes talking about some, yeah, she's a voice for the black man. And you know, that kind of stuff baffles me. I kind of hate that, you know, we're the only race that will bring in outsiders and people that aren't qualified to speak on our issues to speak on them. Like, you've got black women bringing in trans women and gay dudes and white dudes to talk badly about black men. Well, the ones that hate black men, at least. I'm not talking about all of them. Y'all know I ain't.
If black women are indeed these high earners, these valuable people that are doing well for themselves, that are pulling themselves up by their bootstraps, etc., why is it on them to date shitty black men when they can date cute Asian guys?
Why isn't it on black men to say we should be better men because we're so shitty?
No, like, let's ignore that for a second.
Hold on. One second. So, unfortunately for you, it's not that black men are just terrible partners to their black counterparts. They're terrible with white women, they're terrible with Asian women, and they're terrible with Hispanic women. As a matter of fact, with white women, they have a 200% divorce rate. So this is a problem that black men need to remedy if they're going to have any success in any relationship with any race or culture ever in life.
Okay.
And then you've got your black men in the red pill space or in some of these weird spaces that bring in white women like Pearly thing and other offset people to talk down against, you know, black women. And I think that that's stupid that we do that kind of stuff. Why do we need these people to come in and, you know, solidify our points? Why? To give some validation to them. That makes zero sense. But also, you know, since people are saying she's the voice of black men and whatnot, I want to see, is she really the voice of black men? Because based off this video, I'm not really too sure about it. So we're going to go ahead and determine whether or not she is a Trojan horse pick-me Karen, or is she really out here talking real? And I know a broken clock strikes right twice a day or something like that. But, hey, man, I don't know about this one. Let's go.
If it negatively affects you, how can you bounce back? If it positively affects you, okay, how can you take that and run with it?
Yeah, I agree.
And that's what eventually led me away from it.
I don't want you to talk. I'm sorry, guys.
No.
So I don't know what was being said right there. It seemed as if the lady said something and then Pearl wasn't really listening to her, so she was zoned out and now she's laughing because she didn't really pay attention to what she said. But I would like to note that they're listening to Thomas Sowell down at the bottom right there. And I don't know, depending on who you are, you know that Thomas Sowell is a BSer. He's definitely a super sellout. Everything he says is definitely on some alternative facts type stuff. He's basically like one of the first black dudes, I think, that was like a voice for the white man to be able to say some things that he felt like, I can't say it because it'd be racist, but I love when you say it. Because a lot of white dudes love when Thomas Sowell talks badly about black people. They feel like, yeah, he's so based. Whenever you see a group of white dudes saying that, that's just basically like they're okay with racism, basically. But anyway, man, that just lets you know that's the first BS red flag. Let's get going.
No, it's just like, I think that, I don't want to say the wrong.
No, I know it. So I like having like conversations like this with the other side because I'm interested just to hear like what are your thoughts about
like the effects.
Yeah, the effects.
Okay, it's more like, of course there's going to be effects. Mm-hmm. Like that happened for how long? I don't
think 400 years.
Yeah, of course. But it's more like, what can you do about it? Mm-hmm. You can't do anything about it now. Yeah. Like in 2022. So the only thing you can do is try to be like make right going forward. I don't think like.
So I was able to piece together what these two dummies were saying, because at first it wasn't really sounding like nothing. You know, they were just saying a bunch of you could do this, and then and then Pearl said,
well, that was like 400 years ago, and like all we can do is like the government can be better and go forward and be better. But that's not happening, Pearl. That's not happening. And even after that whole slavery situation, there were still constant situations that were holding black people down that still would affect them to this day. If you have a grandma that was alive during the Jim Crow South times, then your grandma can probably sit there and tell you. Well, not even the Jim Crow South. I mean, when it was racism all throughout the U.S. So your grandma can probably tell you about that situation and how that affected them and how it affected your mom and how, now it affects you. And I'm not saying that like, oh yeah, we're all poor or anything, because a lot of us have, built ourselves up and, we had to work from scratch. We still ain't where we should be, but we've worked from scratch to be pretty solid and be pretty decent out here in these streets. And I don't think it's a coincidence that most black people are like that, while most white people are just running around here straight. It's not a case of white people being better than us. It's a case of us being cheated for years and years and years. And also the fact that she's saying, well, we can just do better. They haven't been doing better. We're still ran by the same people that caused the issue in the first place. So how would that make things better?
Like they'll talk about reparations and stuff.
Okay, so reparations. I've seen on a lot of videos, like when the law was passed that there no slavery, abolished it, we were supposed to, the slaves were supposed to get 40 acres of mule. And I remember asking my mom, like, who agreed on that? Why 40 acres of mule? And she was telling me like, well, back in the day, 40 acres, you had your own land, and a mule, you were able to put crops and be able to plant and have land to do that. And so now I've seen people calculate it like, well, if we go back and we get the 40 acres and a mule, and then like they calculated like what else would we get now, and like what's the word, when interest, they've taxed interest on it, and they're like, we're owed like a lot of money. I'm like, if that was true today, I would be a rich person if we got reparations. So I don't know if that's possible or if that's ever going to be a thing. But
so, man, I don't know if this girl is FBA or is, she from across the pond, or she from Africa somewhere, or Caribbean. I don't know what the hell's going on, man. But I think, first off, that she kind of seems in space. She seems low IQ. I'm not saying that like black people are dumb, black women are dumb, but she just seems low IQ. It seems like Pearl brought her on Pearl has her around quite often because she's like somebody that Pearl can just talk circles around. You know what I'm talking about? Like, it just doesn't seem, she's just like, she doesn't seem to be getting her points across really good. She's just talking. Well, yeah, like, yeah, like, yeah, like reparations, yeah, well, yeah, like, it's like a pattern, ain't it? But let's go and see what Pearl got to say to this.
So the problem with reparations is what percentage of white people do you think actually owned slaves in the U.S.?
I don't know.
It's less than 1%.
So I find it hard to believe Pearl right there, because it seems that she just needed a history lesson from the dumb girl. Well, she's also dumb, but it seemed like she just needed a history lesson from the girl. She didn't know anything about anything, but she's randomly able to bust out that stat of 1% owning slaves out of nowhere, like, pow, pow, pow. Like, you're just the smartest savant in the land. So I went and checked out an article on USA Today, and it kind of opened my eyes a little bit more to the whole slavery issue of the United States. And it says here, but Shutterworth Horn, or whatever the hell his name is, he might be a J dude, said even that minimizes the number of white people who benefited from slavery. For example, the patriarch of a family might have been counted as a slave owner in the census, but other members of the household had authority to commit violence with impunity on enslaved people, he said. So yeah, if you're thinking about that 1%, you're thinking about like, oh yeah, well, Thomas Jefferson owned slaves. You're not talking about his whole family. What about goddamn Brett Jefferson and Timothy Jefferson or whoever I'm just making names up. And then you've got all the other same thing with all the other families. And then it also says slaves were also rented out. So while a slave owner was only counted once, other people
and businesses, including railroad companies, could benefit from slavery as well. So that means we had whole U.S. businesses that are probably still around today that are probably thriving a little bit, that, you know, they were able to rent slaves out and treat them like dog shit and, you know, get their stuff built together. And I always used to be thinking like that Asian folks were the main people that built the railroads, and now I'm seeing like, hey, nah, that ain't the case, bro. We really was going through it. At least like the Asian folks that came over were able to, you know, come over at their own free will and, you know, kind of do what they want. They got treated like trash, but we were just treated like straight garbage and then sent back home to be graped and to whipped. So yeah, man, it's more to it. Then the end of the article says the claim that only 1.6% of U.S. citizens owned slaves in 1860 is missing context. Based on our research, the stat itself is slightly off. Census Bureau data from that period shows about 1.4 free people owned slaves in 1860. Historians, though, say that grossly underrepresents the extent of slavery in the U.S. before the Civil War because it includes babies, children, and people in the states where slavery was illegal. In the calculation, slavery was illegal in all but 15 states by 1860. A more accurate way to portray the extent of slavery would be to note 20% of households in the seceding states owned slaves, even though the individual owner was counted as only one person in that household. So yeah, there was much more to it. Yeah, the census is only counting one person as a slave owner. So yeah, if you've got, I don't know however many families you got, goddamn, I guess 20 families, and you just counting that one dude, yes, of course it's not gonna look that bad. But then when you think about, yeah, that one dude, and then his 5 inbred sons, and then his trash white dub S wife, and then his cousins Jethro and all of them, they want to bust on a big booty. So yeah, can you let me at her for the night? And he lets them at. So yeah, man, it was a collective effort. It's more of a collective effort than they like to act like. And then also the people that didn't own slaves, that were, supposedly the poor whites and all that, like, yeah, they're still a part of it. They're helping to be the slave catchers. They're helping to be the slave drivers. I'm pretty sure they were given jobs by these people, and they also, outside of that, were making black people's lives a living hell. So I mean, I feel like it's a collective effort. Why is it always such a problem when we bring this up? This is something that should have been took care of. But you guys are sending money over to Ukraine, billions of dollars, and Joe Biden is over here mad because them folks ain't grateful about it. Zelensky's over there taking photo shoots with ladies and all that kind of stuff for Vogue or something like that. I guess he was listening to the Drake song. Yeah, I must be a martyr if I'm in Vogue. I don't know, man, but it was a collective effort, man. It was more than these folks like to act like it was. But let's go.
Really?
Yeah. And the other problem is money doesn't solve poverty. If money solved poverty, then like people could just throw money at a poor person and they'd become rich, but we're lottery winners.
Poverty. The state or condition of having little or no money, goods, or means of support. Condition of being poor. Number 2. Deficiency of necessary or desirable ingredients, qualities, etc. Number 3. Scantiness. Insufficiency. So I guess like when you got a scantily clad girl, her clothes they impoverished. The amount of clothes is impoverished on her, goddamn. She's scantily clad, goddamn. But yeah, so it seems as if throwing money at people would immediately take them out of poverty based on the definition. And also, one thing I'd like to notice, I don't like when people or these white folks, they like, y'all don't care about how we spend the money and whatnot, and if we're poor and everything, bro. I don't care about you saying like, well, yeah, they're gonna spend it wrong. Like, bro, like, shut up. And if anybody who gets it squanders it on Gucci clothes and stupid stuff like that, then oh well, back to Section 8 for you. The rest of us will live good and figure out what to do with it. And all them, they always like to talk about how like, yeah, well, like, we should make like give them like free education and like classes and like this and then like that. That to me is not a viable option because first, everybody doesn't want to go to school. Everybody doesn't have the same dreams and aspirations. Some people might just be really business savvy and just want to open it up. Secondly, if we're getting free school, we're still, we're basically putting money into those institutions. We're not getting any power structures for ourselves. Whereas, if we just get the money, we can have people put people's minds together get some power structures for ourselves so we don't have to have people that go through stuff like Kanye West and Kyrie Irving right now, which is so stupid. And, you know, we can just have our own little thing. There's no reason why all these different sport leagues are dominated by black folks and we're sitting here playing for them. We shouldn't be playing for them. We should have our own leagues. Without us, suck. Imagine watching a whole bunch of white dudes playing football. That'd be watching paint dry to me. I'm sorry. I mean, yeah, we got some good folks like Tom Brady and all, but that shit is not that interesting, bro. Gronk, okay, Gronk, he catches the ball. He doesn't have any juke moves or nothing. He's not entertaining, dog. Tom Brady's not entertaining, too. He's very fundamental. Larry Bird, fundamental white guy jump shot. No dunks, no handles, no nothing. Black people make the sports. We're the most entertaining by far. And we can still come back and be smart on you, goddamn. So stop playing. We can do it all. And then, you know, you got your other white folks like, well, you guys get welfare and food stamps and stuff. And it's like, bro, y'all the highest recipients of welfare and food stamps and stuff. Actually, if you want to keep it a buck, bro, my family, we never got none of that stuff, bro. We literally had to, you know, get it from scratch, bro. We literally had to get it from scratch. And it's like, if you make a certain amount of money, you don't get to get all that kind of stuff, man. You might not be making a lot of money, but if you make a certain amount of money, you don't get to get all that stuff. So I don't really understand what y'all be talking about on that. Just shut the hell up and just give the money up, you know? Just give the money up.
They're like, they go broke faster than anyone.
They don't know how to spend it.
Yeah, it's about like managing money and being able to run a business. Like, I think reparations possibly at the time, like at the time, but you can't like how you're making people that didn't do anything pay for something their great grandparents did, even if you did the direct descendants. Like, most people immigrated here after slavery. Like I have a grandparent from Lithuania or a great grandparent from Lithuania.
Oh, you're saying that. Okay, I thought. Okay,
and you have to understand, and then what about the white people that fought on the other side?
That fought against.
Yeah. So it's almost like I just don't know how that would work.
It's like okay, I understand too.
So it's always interesting to me when white folks say that, well, I didn't have anything to do with it. It's like, yeah, but you're living off the fruits of the labor of what those people did. Or do you feel like we should just start from scratch like communist China and everybody just start from zero? Oh, no, you don't want that. Can't be a commie. Can't be a commie. And then, you know, we got them folks like her talk about, yeah, well, I had a grandparent from Lithuania who came here. Well, that's one grandparent from Lithuania. He could have probably married an Adoso or just married somebody else who had already been here. He's one grandparent. You had other people that were here before that. I'm pretty sure you're related to. And after that probably was in on some BS. And then she talked about how, you know, everybody came in after slavery. Yeah, but a lot of white folks benefited off of things that black people weren't able to take advantage of. Like the Homestead Act, where a whole bunch of white folks and maybe some Indians was able to be given land for basically free. And you really think they was in there just letting black folks get land for free? No, they was not. No, especially after slavery, we were looked at as subhuman. So how would they just be out here letting us get land for free? Especially when they promised us 40 acres and a mule. They never gave it to us. They just cheated us and said, yeah, stay on your master's land. And we'll pay you 2 cents. Yeah, for the month. Come on, man. Then when you come back and say the whole thing about the Civil War being fought over slaves and everything like that, yeah, I'm sure, you know, that was like the main guise of it. And there were definitely some good folks that was like, hey, man, we don't like this. This ain't right. But when I came and looked up a few reasons why, it said this, and there was, you know, a few more things that said the same thing. And it said, why didn't the North let the South go? Economically, the U.S. wasn't about to let the region driving its GDP just pull up stakes and start their own country. The economic stability of the entire country in the mid-19th century was predicated upon an industrial North and an agricultural South. They supported each other in a way. So yeah, the South wanted slaves, and that was how they were driving up their money. And the North was saying, oh yeah, we don't want slaves. But really what it was about was they didn't want to be looked at as a weaker country, because if the South were to go ahead and secede and make their own country, that would weaken them a whole lot. And then they were saying, well, yeah, if they'll do that, what's to stop Nebraska and all the other states to just go ahead and do it too? So they were looking at it more as like we need to be a superpower. So when England or France or anybody wants to test us, they can't do it. Or, just to be able to, I guess, be looked at as a country that's worth trading with or something like that. They feel like they'll be stronger together than they would separated. So while slaves probably was a little small part of it, I think it was mostly about economy and whatnot. We already know what the U.S. is about, and just really the world in general. Everything drives behind the dollar. So yeah, human life and all that, especially black human life, doesn't really matter. Let's stop playing the games, man. Y'all really want to believe all the history that these folks tell us? I don't believe a lot of the stuff that they tell us, man.
I don't see government handouts helping, like a little bit, right? I think like maybe initially, but I don't see evidence that that's super helpful, because you take the homeless population. How many of them are using that $600 a month
to like pocket or invest in something?
Like over a certain age, I think if you're homeless, like you've made choices to get there.
So I think government handouts have helped. If you look at the white folks, they got the Homestead Act, like I just talked about, free land, and they were able to take that and use that to get ahead and keep that going and pass it down and pass it around. Also, you've got them J folks. They were able to benefit from government handouts, right, from the atrocities that they suffered. Not saying the atrocities aren't anything, worth caring about, but yeah, they benefited from that. And they're part of the crew of people that say, you shouldn't get anything for, the stuff that trickled down and still affects you today. They got all that, and now, they seem to have a very comfortable lead. They're out here, taking folks off of their stations and whatnot, putting out bad narratives about folks, running leagues that they shouldn't have no business running because they could never play that sport ever in their life. And they're doing really well. And then also the way she talked about homeless people lets me know that she's just a privileged, unaware dummy. You talk about, yeah, well, they made a few bad decisions. Yeah, there's a couple homeless folks that probably did make a few bad decisions for sure. But it only takes like 1 or 2 emergencies, bro, and you just down bad. 1 or 2 bad things happen to you, and now you're out here on these streets begging for change. Or, you're living in a tent, whatever it is, man. It could be anything. Anything can happen to anybody, man. And then you've also got veterans that are down bad out there, man. They just haven't been able to get their mind right, and the U.S. didn't care enough about them to get them the right help to where they're not out here on the street. There are a lot of veterans out here. There's a whole lot. So what is she really talking about right there, man? Pearl's definitely giving me privileged, pick me, I just say whatever I think everybody wants to hear. But let's keep going.
And I have relatives that are homeless, and the reason they're homeless is because they've stolen from every family member that's let them like live with them, and then nobody wants to take care of them anymore, and now they're homeless. And I know maybe like a lot of people are gonna say like I come from a very privileged position, and I totally do. But I just think, you get out the house at 18. If you're 45 and still in that situation, you did something wrong the past 20 years. You couldn't have been good with money.
Yeah. Yep. I agree with that wholeheartedly, because I have conversations with my family. Like, if we're in the same situation come next year, we did something wrong. Like, if you are put into a position and there's steps to where you can change your situation, but you don't decide to change it, that means you don't want your situation to change at all.
Well, it's kind of like you, right? Like, why are you doing this YouTube channel right now? Because you showed up on time and you were helpful. And so I said, like, come on, and now I pay you to come on, right? So it's like, that's an opportunity that you got because you showed up on time, and helped out early when no one else was really helping. And so that's what, like, I kind of have a pessimistic view of people in general. I think most people, like, don't show up and they don't try. And I think you could see it in the US at least, because most people get overweight over time. And that's a direct indicator of how much you try.
So that's probably the only part I give Pearl a couple 2-3 points on. Although I don't think that being fat directly correlates to how good you are with your money or how business savvy you might be. Because we know a lot of fat folks that are having money out here in these streets, that are having successful businesses out here in these streets, that are having degrees and good 9-to-5s out here in these streets. I mean, Kevin Samuels used to talk about it all the time. You fat as hell and doing all this, but you got a degree, nobody cares, Then, you've got guys on the other side who are in shape, but quite frankly, they're losers.
So I mean, that's not really a good correlation. And also, Pearl, you're still sloppy, so shut up. But these 3 little pictures right here are just some of the things I think that have affected the black community or still may affect the black community today. And first, we've got race massacres all over the U.S. where, they went to various black neighborhoods or enclaves and took the land because somebody lied about being raped. Some white girl lied about being raped. Maybe black people wanted to vote. They were mad about that. Maybe black people had some farmland and they felt like they were being cheated about it. So they were mad that they stood up to them about that. And it wasn't just like a couple rich whites. It wasn't just a couple rich whites. It was the poor whites too. So yeah, they all had a hand in that. And then on top of that, you got certain situations where the U.S. government was helping to dismantle these towns. Tulsa got help from like the U.S. Air Force and something. Like they got bombed. Then you have another little situation in like 1985 where they like bombed a house and shot it up and riddled it with bullets just to get one family. But that messed up the whole neighborhood. A whole bunch of people got displaced. So those are just a few things. And then not to mention that the times where like the white people just wanted the black folks' land because they felt like they didn't deserve it. So I think that's one situation. It's like that's some stuff that could have been passed down, right? Then also you've got the prison situation. You've got various situations where black guys are going to prison for basically nothing. Sometimes they didn't even do it. They're spending 50 years in prison. All kind of little bogus crimes. And Dr. Umar actually made a video about that. I thought it was interesting that they only really made a prison industrial complex once slavery was over because there were a bunch of slaves without any money or anything to do or any jobs. So now you gotta expect them to go and be desperate for it. So now we're making a prison complex so we can arrest them folks. So that's one thing. I think that kind of stuff breaks up the family and has broken up the black community over time. And now you see how we're looking and all that because, you got guys love to shout out Pookies and Ray Ray, Pookies and Ray Rays. The Pookies and Ray Ray, they take all our gals. They run the neighborhood. They do run the neighborhood. I don't know about the taking the girls part. That's on you if you letting the Pookie and Ray Ray take your girl. You a sucker. You sorry as hell. But then next, we've got redlining. Redlining was a situation where they wouldn't give black people loans, and that's part of them sombrerito folks, man. Shout out to Black Light Revelation. That's part of them sombrerito folks, man. If you don't know what sombrerito stands for or means, look it up on Google. But but yeah, man, them sombrerito folks, man, they displaced us to them certain neighborhoods, man. That's why it's a high concentration of black folks throughout the U.S. in certain neighborhoods. Obviously, I mean, partly because we want to be around each other because that's more comfortable. But when you think about like the hood and torn down areas, I mean, it's pretty reasonable or pretty understandable why that happened. You can probably blame redlining. And then of course, you got the guys just like, well, they could just get out the hood. They could get out the hood. But then with redlining, they made it kind of impossible because now it's like you live in the hood, so you have a bad taint over your image. And now these folks don't want to give you a loan even more. So there's that. But let's go. So I'm going to wrap it up. And you see we have the 2 culprits in the video in this pic right here. And them teeth is going crazy on both sides. Boy, the teeth going crazy, goddamn. But I didn't like the way that Pearl kind of talked the old girl at the end. Like, well, yeah, I give you an opportunity because like you show up. Like nobody else shows up. And like, I have you on and I pay you. It's like she's kind of sunning her in a way. And yeah, it doesn't look good. And it's like, bro, this video right here only had like 3.8K views. And if you had got an AdSense check or 2 before, that ain't really no money. That's like $4 or $5 or something like that. Maybe $3 to be honest. So that ain't really no money. She ain't getting a dime. Also, I didn't like the way that she was saying, yeah, I just have a pessimistic view of people. I don't think that they show up to work. I don't think that they get it done. I feel like she was kind of indirectly trying to talk about black people right there. Because when you think about it, this video is having to do with reparations and atonement for things the U.S. government has done against us. So I think that she's thinking like, oh yeah, well, they don't show up and work and they don't do anything, so they don't deserve the money. I think that's what she's saying right there. My final verdict on Pearl is entitled Karen Trojan Horse Pick Me. That's my final verdict on her, man. I think she's entitled obviously because she's a rich kid, so she's gonna have a different lens on issues than us regular folks would have. I think she's a Karen because just the way she's talking in this video kind of gives me Karen vibes. I think Karens are over opinionated. They're obviously entitled. they're a little bit racist, and I think that, you know, she has most of those traits, and I think that any black dude that's sitting up like, yeah, Pearl's a great submissive woman. Bro, you're an idiot. There's no way that you can sit here and think that Pearl's submissive. Being overly entitled, being a Karen is not submissive, dog. It's not submissive at all. And I think that if you are going to have a woman of an interracial situation as a black man, I think that she should care about your issues in order for her to be this complete submissive woman that you think compliments you. How can she not care about your issues, but you think she's submissive? And I don't think it only has to do with race. I just don't see her being a submissive woman in general. She seems over opinionated, and she seems like one of those, yeah, my way is the best way, no matter how much you may know or be experienced in this situation. So like an example, you know, you're trying to put your leadership game down. You know about this particular thing because you're well versed at it. You've done it a whole bunch of times. But now she's sitting up telling you, well, I just think that, like, my dad did it one time like this, and, like, you know, like, he's white, so it's like, yeah, like, it worked. So, like, now she's still doing it. She ruins everything, makes the spot hot, and just, yeah, it's a bad time. And then also, I don't see her being the kind that, you know, you can tell her, hey, man, I need you to be quiet right now. I need you to give me my space right now. Are you going to cook? Something like that. She's not doing all that kind of stuff, even though I think you should be able to cook for yourself and all that. But yeah, I don't see her doing those things at the ready. I also think she's a Trojan horse because she's using all these black folks and making it seem like she's an ally and all this kind of stuff. But we see here she doesn't know much about black issues or care about them. Also, there's another video where she didn't even know anything about redlining and all this stuff. But all you've been having on your videos are black folks, black folks, black folks, black folks. And these are British black people, and they know more about the history than she does. And she's from the US. But you got all these black folks on your show. Come on, man. So I don't think she's an ally at all, man. Obviously, from this video, she couldn't be an ally. I think she's a pick-me because some of the things she says are stuff that would also affect her in an adverse way. There was a recent Abram Preach video where she talked about women shouldn't be able to vote unless they want to be in the draft, and women shouldn't be able to have birth control and all this kind of stuff. And I think that's stuff that would directly affect you as well. So I think that's stupid. That's pick-me vibes right there. Let's say you want to get bust down by some little sorry joker just because, you know, you think he looks good, but he's a bum. Now you're having a kid by this dude because, you know, there was no birth controller anywhere in sight. Also, you can't come back and get the deletion because that law's overruled. So now you're stuck. That to me is stupid. You'll talk so much that, you know, you want to be on these folks' side so much, on these men's side so much that you're willing to talk against yourself and your own kind, just like Black Coons kind of. But I don't think that Pearl's an ally. I don't think that she's this great woman. Everybody makes her to be the woman king of the black manosphere. Is such a cringy title. Anybody that says that she is that is lame as hell, and you might, quite frankly, be a little slow. But that's the video for me right there, man. If you watch up to this point, thanks for watching. Have a great day, and I'll see y'all next time.